Good morning, everyone. It's been a bit of a surprise which has been sprung on me. It doesn't matter. I'll give my two paisa worth what I know about the issues currently. Members on the dais, Mr. Ghanshyam Prasad and Madam Vibha Dhawan and others, the audience here. Well, to some extent, I'm a sinner in that sense. We have a thermal capacity of nearly 7,000 megawatt, and we want to increase it further by another 3 to 4,000 megawatt. So people arch their eyebrows when I say, we are increasing a thermal capacity. And my sense actually is that people are unduly getting influenced by, I wouldn't say propaganda, I would say that you need to place your interests foremost, and the country's interests also should be right on the top of the horizon. Country needs power, and thanks to the intermittency and the seasonality of RE power, we have absolutely no other option other than depend on thermal power. India has enough coal to take us to another century, believe me, even at twice the consumption of the current coal consumption. But then, of course, it's like, as they say in game theory, we'll also have to be a part of the overall multinational perspective to, reduce the carbon emissions overall. So some people have an early mover advantage. We are slightly lagging behind in the overall economics, and we don't know what to do about this whole issue when someone is trying to push their agenda on us, which I think Mr. Bhattacharya has mentioned, but very nuanced and very subtly has mentioned that. But then, to tell you the truth, actually the agenda is being pushed onto us, and we should in fact protect our interests, which is the foremost option. But it doesn't mean that we do not explore the RE availability currently, which is, I think, if we don't, it would be a very unfortunate thing to do. The problem again is that India is such a large country and it's of a continental dimension. We should keep learning about it, but then in reality, I suppose we don't appreciate it that much, because a lot of decisions are made in Delhi believing that India is a very small country and there is no variability in terms of state to state or place to place or language to language and so on and so forth. To tell you the truth, it's not viable to really run RE projects in eastern region. We have created our own interventions which have made it unviable to run a RE project in the eastern region. We only see that a glimmer of hope that since the June 2025, when the ISTS starts unwinding itself, I would say, because currently the tariff for ISTS is zero. I mean, I can export power from Rajasthan or Gujarat at no cost to the east. So it's okay. I mean, to some extent, you might need to do it if you want to promote RE. But if the ISTS charges, which are in reality required to be adopted, are adopted, then I'm telling you it's not going to be viable at all, because the thermal power is going to be cheaper. I agree. I mean, there is a time coming up when probably the storage solution, either through a pump storage project or through battery storage project, will be cheaper than generating power through a thermal power project. So that's the day which is going to come when probably, yes, there's another energy transition which will happen when thermal power projects will no longer be required to that extent. But the day is, I think, probably is a very distant, and in spite of the best efforts in terms of battery technology and battery management systems and so on and so forth, are maybe around 20 years ahead or 25 years ahead. But till then, to maintain the base load in our country, thermal power projects are necessary. Now, banks, the understanding is that the energy is very closely related to economics. Now, the principal financiers of all the projects, whether it is an RE project or whether it is a thermal power project, are the banks. To some extent, NBFCs like REC, PFC also pitch in. But most of the lending is done by the banks to the extent of nearly 60% or even more. Now, within India, banks have taken a stance that we will continue funding thermal power projects. So to that extent, yes, the financing of thermal power projects is assured, and they have also taken a long-term perspective that yes, thermal power is here to stay for the next 30 to 40 years. In fact, energy action plans have been worked out for many states. I think one of them is West Bengal also, where we have projected that until 2045 we would be definitely needing quite a substantial amount of thermal power, and after that it is going to be tapered down to slightly lower levels. But yes, a base load would still continue to be required till 2070. Now, the other requirement actually is that we have using electric power in very, very restricted sectors, maybe in say maybe the lighting, or probably in the air conditioning, that is HVAC lighting, as well as probably in some of the manufacturing processes. We still haven't really penetrated the transportation sector. We haven't penetrated the household domestic sector at all. We haven't penetrated into the agriculture sector at all. The day these sectors also open up for electric power, and the gas guzzling, diesel guzzling, or the wood consuming or the coal consuming sectors start going down, that's the day you would definitely see a very substantial increase in terms of requirement of power. Our requirement of power per capita is also very low compared to other countries. I mean, a third world country like India still has a substantial gap between us and the first world countries. And even with the global average also. So this gap definitely would be narrowed down to some extent when we start using power in other sectors also. So for all that, definitely power is going to be required. And the baseload power definitely continues to be based on thermal power, and we have absolutely no other alternative. So to that extent, I see that the growth of requirement of power is going to be increasing. Prior to COVID, we had a fairly static growth, in fact, very negligible growth. We were very worried whether our power projects would run at all or not. But post-COVID, actually, things really took off. So whether it is RE power or whether it is thermal power, I mean, the requirement is stupendous, and we just can't meet the demand in the summer months at least. Manufacturing also has improved a lot, and as more and more manufacturing shifts from China or the Far East towards India, the requirement of power is going to be humongous. So growth per se is definitely going to be there in the sector, which is something which is a long-term vision a lot of people have taken. And how do we set this equation right? I mean, it is a multidimensional equation. There, some places you have to cooperate. Sometimes you might have to deviate in some respects with maybe the global opinion. But nevertheless, we'll have to look at our national interest as a foremost requirement. With this remarks, I think I'll close my interaction. Thank you very much.